All right, ESPN is ready to overreact about the Dogs' 2024 offense. What's that going to mean for Georgia? Here's what the article says. Georgia's offense won't be nearly as good without star tight end Brock Bowers and receiver Lad McConkey. There's no question the Bulldogs are going to miss the two aforementioned pass catchers who were selected in 13th and 34th overall picks. Yada, yada, yada. Beck should be even better. In his second fall as starter, he's trending as the potential number one overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. Dominic Lovett, Robert Thomas, Dylan Bell, Colby Young, Oscar Delp. So this is one of those stories. This is one of those, May stories. And it's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you've got to have content this time of the year. It's what it is. So every single day they have, some sort of thing or another about, this is an overreaction. So the overreaction, according to ESPN, is that Georgia's offense won't be nearly as good without Brock Bowers or Ladd McConkey. It won't have them, and they're pretty good. So there's that. But the notion here is that Carson will continue to. The notion is that Carson will recover from his wisdom teeth extraction in this time of year. I don't know if any of y'all had that. I did. I was 20, maybe 24, something like that. And that's not a fun surgery. But anyway, he'll be fine. Um, the, there is hope that he will continue to play as well as he's projected to play um, moving forward, going this fall. I mean, will he go number one overall? I don't know. I can't. I don't know that, but he's certainly in position to. You've got Stuart Sanders, and you got some other guys that are out there. You never know who's going to go number one overall, but usually it's a quarterback, but you can't ever tell. So with that said, the bottom part here is the important part. Lovett, Thomas, Bell, Young, Delp, all these other guys that are going to be pass catchers, they don't have a one star. They Brock Bowers has been the person people have talked about for a long time, and he's been their leading receiver for the last few years. But Georgia hasn't had a wide receiver star really since George Pickens. I mean, as good as AD was, as good as Lab was, they've never really had like a guy. You got to stop this guy. That's the way you want it. All these teams who are quite good. Ohio State, Alabama, and Clemson when they had Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun, but mainly with Trevor, they would have multiple really difficult receivers to stop. I think that's where we're headed with Georgia. And I got some people who don't really listen to what I say fully, aggravated maybe about 4 weeks ago, talking about how this Georgia team could look a lot like Alabama's 2020 team. I mean, they're going to throw it around, and they're going to have a lot of different receivers who are going to be able to catch the ball and uh, hurt teams. Now, are they as good as Devonta Smith? Jaden Waddle? No, and I didn't say that. But I think the style could be very similar, in terms of we're going to distribute the ball on the perimeter a lot. We're going to take balls deep down the field. We're going to depend on our veteran quarterback to get us, our first round draft pick veteran quarterback to get us where we got to go. Mac Jones was a good player for Alabama. Um, he could do stuff. Carson Beck is at least as good as Mac Jones, if not better. And I don't know that he's got better weapons. When you look at that Bama 2020 offense, and you take a look at Georgia's, you do not have a dominant running back like they've had with Najee Harris, and you don't have the two with Waddle and Devonta. You do not have those guys, but you have a dominant offensive line, probably one of the best, if not the best in the country. You have the best quarterback in the country. You couldn't say that with Alabama in 2020. He was really good. He wasn't the best one, though. And then you have, really good running backs. You don't have a dominant one. Tight end is probably not something that either team, there's no Brock Bowers out there, but it's the style, okay? Georgia's not going to just sit there and say, well, we're just going to run the ball, you know. that's gone. Like that 2017, in 2017, they had a freshman quarterback, literally a freshman quarterback from game two on. Their starting quarterback got hurt on the first in the first quarter of the season. I mean, they had two, elite running backs. They had good wide receivers. They did, but they didn't have the receivers weren't as good as the running backs were. So that was their style. That's what they did, and the defense wasn't as good as it is now, but it was pretty good. So they just sort of said, "Hey, we're gonna gash people the whole day," and they did. Um, but when they couldn't gash was when it became difficult, which was, against Alabama, against Auburn, and those, two losses. It would have been nice to have Carson Beck back there to be, or Jake Fromm year two back there, but they didn't have that. So, will the offense be worse? You're going to tell a difference. You don't have Brock Bowers. You don't have, Lab McConkey. You don't have these guys who, make Georgia, who have made Georgia explosive. Um, from the two of them were explosive, and therefore Georgia was explosive. So um, that said, Dylan Bell is unquestionably explosive. I mean, he is the guy that you know they Lad, AD, Dylan Bell. They Georgia's done a great job of going out and getting guys that you know nobody else got. They passed on or skipped or missed them or whatever. And Dylan Bell, I don't know if Dylan Bell's going to be a first round draft pick, but he is a heck of a college football player. But these are the sort of articles that you see popular. I mean, we're definitely in scramble mode for content creators, which is what ESPN is too. They don't have content right now, so it's just what it is. And these stories are fine. It gives me something to talk about too, but it's not, you know, but we'll all survive if nobody reads that story, right? I mean, it's not real reporting. It's just, hey, here's what I think. Um, but I don't, a lot of this season is going to be predicated on how well Carson plays. And, that is always a concern. If you're predicating your season on one person, that's not, you know, that's not always great. Now, with that said, that's probably the wrong way to put it. In order for Carson to succeed, the offensive line has to play well. The receivers have to play well. I mean, I guess the running backs have to play well, but not like the other folks I mentioned. He's completely capable. He's shown what he can do. I mean, the games against Auburn, the games against Auburn, Kentucky, Ole Miss. I mean, I guess Florida State, Tennessee for sure, Missouri. Carson played well in big moments. You look at the Ole Miss, Kentucky, Florida State. I'm leaving one out. Ole Miss. So the ranked teams he played against were the Noles, Ole Miss, Kentucky, Florida State, the Noles, Kentucky, Ole Miss. I think at Tennessee was a road game, the Alabama game, and there was another game. So, well, he didn't play well against Alabama. I mean, he didn't play bad. He didn't play bad. He wasn't the reason they lost. So, I just he's going to have to play within himself and be uh, the best version of himself in the biggest moments. And we've seen in the biggest moments, like the Auburn game, particularly in the second half. The Auburn game, he was really, really, really good. Okay. And guys were wide open, by the way. Against, Ole Miss, he just thrashed them. That's a top 10 matchup. He just thrashed them. Against Missouri, another, I think it was a top 10 matchup. I'm pretty sure it was top 10 or top 11, whatever it was. He played well in that game. So, you're only going to have so many moments in a season where it's all on the line. And we've seen for Carson, he's good in those moments. He's good in those moments. Well, but he lost to Alabama. The whole team lost to Alabama. That wasn't on Carson again. Fill me on his pick six on that game, right? Or whatever. I mean, Georgia had one too many turnovers, and we don't have to relive that whole thing, but there's coaching stuff in there that they missed. That game gets played again. Georgia probably wins it, I would say 6 out of 10, maybe 7 out of 10 times, something like that. But you got to win when you got to play. So there's that. But I think for Georgia, this offense is going to be very explosive. The line can pass protect well, and I think the addition of ETN helps a lot. It gets one more person who is also explosive. You could see them score a pile of points in 2024. Thanks for watching.